Everyone. Today we're going to go over how to just explore HMH and all of the options that it has. So obviously in HMH there is a plethora of resources for you to use, which is a blessing and a curse at the same time. It's a blessing in a way that it doesn't matter what your teaching style is or what your students' learning style is, there's going to be something that works for you and your classroom. The downside is there's a lot to kind of sort through and figure out what to do with. So let's go ahead, let's just jump right in. So first things first, when we sign in, we're at our dashboard, we're going to go to Discover. We want to make sure we're at HMH Resources. So from here, this is where we can just do our general exploration of things. We can take a look at what options we have, what assignments there are, lessons, things for parents, standards, everything that has to do with that. The other thing we can do in Discover is we can go over to My Stuff and we can create different lessons, or we can create folders, or just easy access pieces. So right here, if I take a look at Module 4, this is for Algebra Module 4 that I created, where I focus on just reteach checking understanding on your own. So this has a whole bunch of differentiation options. So right here, I see that I also put a description saying that it's a subplans and differentiation. So this is something that I had created for my students for this particular module. And then if you want to create a folder, go over here. So let's say you have one just for math, but you don't want to see all of your math lessons all at once. So you click on math and we come in here. And now we can create a lesson. So let's say that you are on module 2. And it's module 2, lesson 1, or maybe it's all of module 2, whatever it may be. And it's going to be our differentiation piece. Or maybe it's just assignments that you like to use. And so now we can click resources or add resources. And so we said that it was module 2. So now from here, I can take a look at module 2 and see, what do I want to use? So let's say that you don't want to go over relating multiplication to division. Obviously, you would want to go over that, but for simplicity's sake, let's say there is a portion of your module that you don't really want to focus too much on with your students, and you want to focus really hard on that using partial quotients because it's going to help them with fractions. So we click on Open Lesson, and we can look for assignments that we really liked. So maybe we have a problem of the day and we want to use it as a bell work or as an exit ticket. And we see, oh, use partial quotients to find 464 divided by 8. And so they can go through and see, okay, what is that going to give me? So I exit out of there. I can either hard it, so I can come back to it later on, or I can click these 3 dots, add to my lessons, and I add it to my module 2. And I click add. Now I'm done. And then I can add other assignments to that same lesson. If you don't want to use that, you don't have to. I don't use it very often, only when I am planning for a sub to come in and take a look or to take charge of my class. It just makes it easier for me to access and go straight into it and assign it, especially if I made any mistakes while I'm gone. I can just log in, quick assign it from my stuff, and I'm good to go. I don't have to sort through everything. Now, the other thing you can do down here is you can take a look at your teacher ebook. Now you'll notice that whenever you click on a resource, it opens a new tab. So up here, you'll see that you have your original tab still open, and then your new one that you're on. Do not exit out of your original tab. You want to leave this one open because once you're done in here, you just exit out of it and you're back at your original spot. Don't exit this tab out. I promise it'll save you time in the long run. Let's go back into our teacher ebook. So now we can see that this is exactly what our teacher book looks like when we have it in person. But it's a little hard to read. So let's say, we're going to click on More, One Page, and we're going to zoom in. You have to zoom in on this section because it won't work if you zoom in on the page itself. And so now we can see that we are on the different lessons, how long it's going to take, and all that fun stuff with it. So now the other nice part is you can take a look at each piece of your teacher book and see which parts makes the most sense to you, or what do you think is going to be the best help for your students. So I personally don't really take a look at my mathematical progressions because I have a general idea of what should the students already know, what are we working on, and what is this going to help them with later on. Now, language development, I don't focus on every single piece. I pick and choose what I want to focus on. So, because I teach higher level math, obviously this is fifth grade, but when I teach Algebra 1 or geometry, I really focus on my key vocabulary because there are going to be a lot of new words in higher level math where the kids are going to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about, lady. So I go over vocabulary because it's really essential to develop that language portion of higher level math. But maybe you want to go over um, doing some stuff for English learners. You take a look at this. So these are language routines in context. So the biggest part of learning a different language is learning the language in context. So obviously, yes, we all took Spanish class and we all know that donde está la biblioteca. But when in reality, are you going to ask someone where the library is? You're probably going to want to know more contextual things like, hey, how do I add these two numbers together? That is something in context, or knowing what a situation is about. And this is going to help more than just your EL students when it comes to math. This is going to help all of your students when it comes to solving word problems. And then you can take a look at what other options they offer. And all you have to do is just take a quick scan. You don't have to deep dive into every single little piece. Just do a quick scan and take a deep dive on the portions that seem to make the most sense to you or that seem to stand out to you that you think will be the most useful, and then implement those pieces into your teaching. So now I'm going to exit out of this tab. My original one's still open. So now let's take a look at all resources. When we click on all resources, we see everything that the book has to offer, not just that section. So maybe you want to take a look at just a vocabulary section and you want to see what do we have to offer. Well, we see that there's a multilingual glossary. We have English and Arabic, Chinese, French, Haitian Creole, Portuguese, Russian, all that jazz. So maybe you have a student that needs this guide with them while you're teaching them. So let's take a look at English and Russian. And so now we can see, okay, when you're talking about an acute angle, your student that speaks Russian can take a look at this and see, oh, this is what they're talking about. This makes more sense now. And they can essentially see it in their language that they're probably thinking in, and then see it in English. And it's going to make a little bit more sense to them. So maybe you can have that on hand for your students, just for them to reference when they need it during class time. Obviously, you don't give those to them on a test more than likely. And now we're going to go back to grade 5. So now let's take a look at just the teacher resources. This is going to be stuff just for you, but if you take a look, almost 1,300 resources, that's a lot to sift through. We don't want to sift through that much components, or that many components. So now, let's say you don't want the teacher ebook because you already have the teacher book. You don't need it. So we're going to go into one of our filters, which is components. So these are all of our filters. We're going to go into components, and let's say that you want to look at the classroom presentation tools, you want to take a look at the exit tickets, an I can scale, you see planning and pacing guide, and professional learning. So now we see professional learning. It looks like they give you videos for professional learning. And then if I take a look at the I can scale, it looks like it gives you a tiered objective scale. So this could be really helpful for making your lesson plans or giving your students objectives. Or maybe you can just print this out and tape it to the front of your classroom and say, hey, here are math objectives for today. And then we can take a look at the exit ticket and see, oh, hey, this would be really helpful. Maybe this is one that I can save throughout the year and just give it to them randomly as extra practice. Or maybe I can use this same setup and just alter the numbers. And then we can see, oh, there are lesson slides. Let's see if I like these lesson slides. And so it downloads it for you, and you can take a look and see, do you think it's going to be helpful? Does this make sense? And it gives you a problem of the day already. There's the I can portion, the spark your learning, turn in talk, and everything that goes with it. So when I enable editing, let's say you have a very talkative class and they don't really need to turn in talk. So what you do is you skip this part. You just don't do it. That is the beauty of this curriculum. If it doesn't work for you, don't use it. If it does work for you, use it. It's going to be great. And so now we can see that there are tasks in there, step it out. And then maybe instead of making this a turn-in talk, maybe you do like the questions that it's asking, but instead of calling it a turn-in talk, maybe you can rename this to be a discuss or teacher talk. And so now you have a separate portion if it would show the letters. Or maybe you want this I can scale to be at the very beginning and you put it up here. So you can rearrange it. Or maybe you just want a couple of these slides and you want to put them on your own slideshows. That works too. So however you want to use the resources is however you best utilize it to help you in the classroom and to help your students succeed. And so you can see that these are all the options that we have. So now, can we access all of this from those modules over there that we were looking at originally? Yes, most definitely. If there's something that you want to pull at the very beginning of the year and you want to have them all together, all in order, all at once, then I suggest you come over here to the All Resources section and you use that. So now let's go ahead, let's take a look at family resources because we really want to make sure that we are engaging with our students and their families and their support system. So right here we see a school home letter. We can take a look and see what that says. We see, oh, hey, dear family, during the next 8 days, we will be learning about place value, powers of 10, and so on and so forth. So this actually might be a great idea for you to have printed out and you can send it home to your families. That way you have very clear communication of what their student is learning about in a particular week. So now let's say that you are skipping 1.1 because maybe you did the growth assessment and it shows that the students don't need this portion. You can just mark it off and say that you're not going to use that one. And it gives them a home activity. They have it in Spanish. One of these might be Portuguese. And then we see a bunch of different, or we see another language as well. What the other two languages are, I have no idea. I know one of them's Spanish, one of them's English. But that is an option that you can use for your family resources. You can see that there are videos. Maybe you have parents that would like to help their children, but they don't really know how. So what you can do is maybe you can assign a video on a particular topic to your students. That way they can watch it at home. And so this is what we see for all of the family resources, that they're just school home letters and math on the spot practice videos. So that is how you explore the different components. Now, when you take a look at modules and you go in, so let's say we take a look at module 5 and we come down to one of the lessons. Let's do lesson 3. For every single subject, they are going to have it organized in some way, shape, or form, just like this. There's going to be lesson information on the side. So for math, we get I can objectives on the sides and then standards. For ELA and history, I believe you guys get teaching methodologies or vocab and then standards on the side. And then all of the books will have some form of sectioning or categories for all of the resources in a particular lesson. If you go to just the module, it's just going to put everything all together. It's all jumbled up together. You have to make sure that you're in the module and in the lesson. Now it'll categorize everything for you. So it gives you the planning portion, warm up, instruction, formative assessment, differentiation, independent activities, collaborative activities, answer keys, all that jazz. And so from there, you can take a look at what am I going to focus on for this particular lesson. So let's take a look at what this looks like for ELA or history. So here is into reading grade 3. Let's take a look at module 5. And so now we see, instead of lessons, we see week 1, week 2, week 3. So if I drop down, I see, oh, in each of the weeks, I have lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. So if I open just this lesson, I see this sectioning happening again. Vocabulary, reading, formative assessment, small group, communication, writing, grammar, intervention. And so it gives you those separations just like they do in math. The separations or the categories are just different titles. Then we can also see the listen information. We see the vocabulary, reading, formative, communication, and then our standards down at the bottom. And so now what you can do is you can go through and see, okay, do we need to spend a lot of time on this particular lesson? Do we need to focus more on vocabulary? Are we going to focus more on reading, on graphic organizers? Or do we need quite a bit of intervention for the students in this one? And then again, you can still look at more filters over here. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. And then we see instructional purpose, the format, component, and the audience. We'll put it back. And now we can just go through our programs again. Now, obviously, you guys will not have this many books available to you. I do because I have access to all of the books to help with anyone that needs a little bit of help on their subjects. So this will be a lot less overwhelming for all of you guys.